believe in miracles. I do. These two are going to share their story right now. It's pretty awesome. The Glen podcast starts right now. Welcome to the podcast. Great. Yeah. God is good. I'm here with you too.
Thanks for inviting us.
Yeah. Hey, they got a great story. This is really fun, but I want to first start with love. You guys fell in love. When and where? Who gets to tell the story?
She's better at that.
She's always the woman. The woman always gets it.
He'll insert a few things in here. Scott and I first met when we were both students at USD in Vermilion. And I only knew him because he was dating this girl that was in my Bible study.
Ooh. This is getting good already. Scott, you son of a gun.
My only memory of Rachel was she missed her last month of college due to illness.
Oh.
Yeah, had mono.
Had mono.
I hate mono.
Skipped graduation.
Nobody likes the mono.
And so I didn't remember anything of her except I knew that somebody had missed the last month of school because of mono. And I had nobody to associate it with. I just knew that somebody where I studied at the Newman Center down there had left because of mono. And, I stuck the story in my head and didn't think anything of it because...
Yep. Then we re-meet 5 years later in Sioux Falls. I was there. I was working on my Master of Divinity then. I was doing my hospital chaplaincy rotation as part of that. And... living with the sisters.
What sisters?
The sisters, the Presentation Sisters.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, because they had some friends there. They had a place for me to live for the summer, and I'm like, I'm going to live there.
I didn't know they had Presentation Sisters down there.
Yeah, they run the hospital.
They run the hospital, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's like right across the street
we're
from
in USD?
No, we're in Sioux Falls.
We're in Sioux Falls.
Yep.
See, I'm a little slow sometimes.
Yeah.
And the truth is,
we jump around the place. We go north. We go from Vermilion to Sioux Falls to Brookings.
Well, I'm going to be squirrel on you. I did something really stupid. I decided to go for a bike ride today. We had a 25-mile-an-hour wind, and I thought, I'm doing it. So I went 5 miles into the wind, and my face is red, and I'm like, I almost died. I'm 80 pounds overweight, I'm sure, and I'm like, I'm going to lose this weight today. But anyway, so a little squirrel on you. So anyway, keep going with the story. The Presentation Sisters.
Yeah, so I was living with the Presentation Sisters.
What's it like to live with sisters? Is the food any good?
The food is good, but they're much more polite than I was used to being. I think I did lots of stepping on toes. I'd always lived by myself and did what I wanted on my own schedule. And then all of a sudden I'm living with these other sisters that they care where you're at. And I'm like, oh, I need to it was just funny how I didn't realize I was being rude or being.
Are you still in touch with them today?
Yeah, some of them. Mm-hmm.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I just lived in one of their houses. Anyhow, that's just a little detour, but we Scott and I re-met because we had some common friends. Scott had become Catholic in the meantime between college and when we met.
Wait a second. So you're a convert to the faith?
Yeah.
Yeah, I grew up Baptist.
Baptist? Baptists are not supposed to become Catholic. Isn't that like 101?
It is definitely a difference. It is a different world.
Yeah, we especially don't like Catholics, right?
I had a grandmother that was very much, there was hell, and right above that, a little bit was Catholic.
Really?
That was a big deal to that generation, to my grandparents.
It is a big deal. Crazy.
We have no concept of just how different that was for them, or how it just was not, or it was so important to them, that being of this faith or of that faith. We don't have that in our generation.
So Scott does the unthinkable. Mm-hmm. He becomes a Roman Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
Yikes.
Kind of crazy.
It is very crazy. Keep going.
But God knew what he was doing. Yes. As a little, preview, because Mary is a huge part of that story of miracles and lots of joy. So,
and this is what you got to understand.
Mary.
Yeah, this is what you got to understand, ladies and gentlemen, especially you non-Catholics. The truth is, Our Lady is everywhere. I mean, she is interceding like crazy, and and I have an Our Lady story, but this is about you two tonight. So,
Yeah.
do you want to talk a little bit about Our Lady, or do you want to just keep going with the story?
Let's keep
Doesn't
going
matter.
because
Yeah.
around Our Lady.
I think Mary will make herself known.
She tends to do that.
She will appear. So
She will appear.
hang on, if you're wondering, right over there somewhere. Wouldn't that be something if she did, huh?
Yeah.
Scott would go crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, keep going.
I think we all would. So anyhow, Scott and I just hit it off, started dating. Scott had moved to Brookings then after that summer, and I had a year
What year
left.
are we in?
2005.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2005. So we just hit it off. We kind of seemed like we saw the world in the same perspective and enjoyed each other's company and had some similar interests. So then I finished my graduate school and moved back to South Dakota. We got married in 2007
Yeah,
at
Brookings.
St. Thomas More in Brookings.
no kidding. Who
yeah.
officiated that wedding?
Father Joe Fursell.
I know Father Joe. Wonderful.
Yeah, yeah.
So married in 2007.
Yeah.
What happened next?
Yeah. The first, like, there's this is where it gets bumpy.
Yeah.
That's where it gets bumpy,
Well, anytime you get married, it's bumpy.
right?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
if it's not bumpy, you're just lying to yourselves.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
So
didn't-
if you go back 10 years before we got married,
Yeah.
I was a passenger in a vehicle that was rear-ended. And I was sitting in the passenger seat and turned around my seat to see what was happening behind us, and ended up with what I would figure out many years later was a shoulder injury. And for me, the pain came out as anxiety and depression. And the response of the school, I was in medical school at the time, was we don't help people with mental illness. We get rid of you.
Really?
Yeah, it was.
Where is the love, y'all?
Oh,
Yeah.
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 And so, in what happened was right when school started during orientation was the accident, and so a few months later I started getting really, really bad anxiety. Your brain is telling you that there's something wrong because there is something wrong, but it doesn't differentiate. You don't get a sensation. Your body doesn't tell you this is where it is. You just get this sensation. There's something wrong. There's something wrong. And with mental illness, that's just one of the comorbid factors is the term. It was also the household we grew up in. It was also the nutrition. It was also the self-worth. It was, there are so many factors. There's also the genetic portion of it. You grew up around parents with mental illness. There's the environmental, and it all goes together. And then you factor on that we grew up in a household where and it's also in medical school, you don't ask for help. There's a very, very big stigma of asking for help as weakness.
So you learned that from your dad?
Yeah, my dad never asked for help. He was a very, very stern, angry man. We grew up in.
I wonder why. Any idea why?
He was a single child on a farm, and his father was, I imagine, also the same way. It would have been, my grandfather, and he ended up basically raising my older sister and I, he and my grandmother. My mother had mental illness a few months after I was born. I don't remember that part of it. She was in Yankton, South Dakota, in the
And the behavioral health.
behavioral health
whatever it's
unit
called.
down there. And so she had, it ended up being years later, you try to sort it all out. You never really do. But both of my parents had really bad anxiety, and really, there was a lot of worry about what people thought of us. And that was the justification for all kinds of abuse, is people thought poorly of us. And then when I was 20 months old, I was in an accident. My mom was changing my diaper, and I was playing a horn, and my sister decided I shouldn't be playing the horn. she was sitting above me, and she perfectly hit the end of the horn with her heel to get me to stop playing, and it drove the horn into the back of my throat. And it was really, that was like just the start of it, of just really bad, negative, painful life. And just lots of expectations to perform. My dad was a small town physician, and everybody thought we were the perfect family, and so we had to portray that we were the perfect family, and we were nowhere near that perfect of a family.
Right.
Yeah.
And so when I was trying to figure out what was going on, I couldn't get the pieces together in my mind. And I'm trying to do school, and I'm dealing with the stress of that. I'm dealing with the stress of starting a potentially long-term relationship at the same time. And it was just a lot of destabilizing factors. And in retrospect, I'm lucky I'm not in a casket because of it.
So you guys get married, and it gets bumpy right away. And you have some bigger issues than some couples do. Yeah, and you characterize that very well.
And I knew that going in, I knew that Scott had this a really unhealthy family background. I knew that he had started medical school and then had to drop out because the anxiety and depression and stuff was just so bad. It actually wasn't until later that he had put the pieces together that, it started with that shoulder injury. It was a chronic pain issue that then manifested into this anxiety.
Yeah.
So I knew going into this, getting married, that, that was on the table. But he was fairly healthy and happy when we got married. And then just circumstances and stuff started to go downhill. And then it was about 10 years probably of just really painful existence. You try to make the best of it. You try to do things. And, there were just days and weeks and months that Scott couldn't get out of bed. He couldn't function. Lots of canceled plans. Lots of, I'm going to mass and going to events by myself. And so just really painful day-to-day life. And not knowing, how do I help this? And, I tried everything under the sun. Let's try this counselor. Let's do this program. Let's do this retreat. Let me tell you, I tried it. And some of that, I don't know if it's helpful or not. Some of it was probably harmful because I'm trying to force a solution onto Scott.
And it's one of the difficulties of dealing with mental health issues is so many diseases out there we have known cures for. Cancer, not cures, but we know how to at least approach the treatment. Mental health issues are such a different level of complexity.
Yeah.
Not one thing doesn't work. It's so multifactorial.
Yeah.
And the other thing you don't have as a person with mental illness is perspective. You just can't piece it together. Is the best way I can say it. You're in the middle of it. It's like you're fighting a battle that's unlike any other. I mean, you're fighting your own mind.
Yeah, it's like there's something wrong with you, and you don't know how to get out of the room.
Yeah, you don't.
You're in a room.
No one can walk you out.
No, and you can maybe even see the door, but you cannot get over there.
Yeah. It's like being paralyzed. That's actually, you're paralyzed. You don't know how to get there. You can see where you want to go. You want to participate in life. You want to enjoy life. You don't want to be suffering, and you don't want to cause suffering. But yet there you are, and the people around you are suffering.
Yeah, and Joy's been locked in a cabinet and I can't get out.
Wait a second, Joy, what are you talking about? He did not know it existed.
Right.
Just to be happy. And the reality is our story we want to share. Our story is actually about joy, which is really hard when you're like, oh yes, we started in this really terrible, depressing place.
Yeah.
But our story is about joy and about miracles and the way that the Lord works in really desperate, painful places. And for 10 years, there was it was hope. No, there was no hope. It was hopeless. Yeah. And Scott actually did not know he could be happy.
Yeah.
Right?
You just don't have any comprehension of it. You don't see any way to it.
He actually did not know.
Yeah.
And later he's like, I didn't, and even after the birth of our son, it was one of the times he says this often, I didn't know I could be this happy. Yeah. I did not know.
I didn't know life could be this good. Yeah. It's like never in a million years could I ever believe I would be as happy as I am right now.
Yeah.
I have a job that I love. I have a wife that I love. I have a happy, joyful son.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
never in my wildest dreams would I have ever imagined my life would be this wonderful.
Yeah.
What was the turning point? There's a turning point in the story.
There is.
What happened?
I think there's lots of, maybe for me, it was a slow turning point. For Scott, boom.
Oh.
So let me tell you the my part of the story, because that was the slow build up.
Sure. Yeah.
And then it gets to Scott's point, but I'm suffering. I'm going to retreats. I'm asking people for help. I'm asking you and Jamie and other friends that please help us. I have no idea. Just pray for us. And so number one, I knew that. Very clear, very apparent to me that we were held up by the prayers of our friends. And I love that the scripture verse, can't remember where it's at, but where the friends come and bring the paralyzed man on the mat, and they can't get to Jesus, but they don't let that stop him. So they open up the roof and lower him down. And so that that's the image that comes to me of I know we were carried along by the prayers of our friends, because we had no idea. Scott's paralyzed. I'm at a loss. And when you're suffering in that level, sometimes you really struggle to know how to pray, even how to pray. There was a long time that I was just really ticked at God, probably about 3 years. I'm
Sure.
Lord, this is not what I signed up for. In marriage. This is not what I agreed to. Thank you very much. You need to change this. And there was, that was probably the limit of my prayer, is just complaining to God. This is not right, Lord. This needs to change. You need to change it. So at some point, some helpful people, like you and Jamie and some others, kind of taught me a little bit more how to pray better with more effectiveness. I think Dr. Margaret went to a retreat with her, and she had said something about praying against the evil that I saw. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? And she's like, okay, well, do you know the prayer to take authority? I'm like, no, I don't. You need to pray that every day.
Yeah,
okay.
And this is a unique change, this attitude that prayer is to do something.
Yeah. The prayer is like a weapon, a powerful weapon against evil. I had no idea that, I thought prayer was like talking to God. But it is. But
it's more.
Remember that up to this point, my prayer was a lot of complaining.
It's still prayer, but it's not really effective.
Right. It didn't have the power.
Yeah.
It didn't have the power. So, I was learning how to pray against. So name the problems, the evil that I saw, this depression, the anxiety, the hopelessness, the despair. And in Jesus' name, through the power of Jesus, not my own, but through the power of Jesus, to bind that and cast that out and pray against it. And so I started praying that way. I started learning how to pray more. I think it was a great grace that I was going to adoration every week. I had signed myself up for an adoration hour, not because I wanted to, by the way, because I thought it would be good exercise for me, like healthy,
Good for you.
kind of like eating my vegetables. But during that time where I had no idea how to pray, no idea what to do or what to say, then I would just sit in front of the Eucharist and I would let Jesus soak into me. And after a while, I wasn't quite so despairing. After a while, I, had a little bit more hope. And it wasn't anything that I was doing, certainly. It was just showing up and allowing the Lord to soak into me.
Yeah, you're soaking in the sun, man.
Right.
The Son of God is right there,
It is.
and
You
you're
got a little
soaking him in.
sun radiation therapy. Yeah.
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 I love that analogy about, or the use of the word weapon, prayer as a weapon. One of my friends that I just met, he's having some issues, and I said, dude, you're getting your, kicked.
Yeah.
Here's the situation. World War II. You're an American. You're on those boats going to Omaha Beach, right? And all your brothers got, the Kevlar on. They've got the whole suit on, and they got their machine guns or hand pistols. And you're in a t-shirt and shorts with a slingshot. Yeah. And most of you are like that in the spiritual, because this isn't just a mental health issue. We're moving into, there's a spiritual attack because Satan wants to steal, kill and destroy you, and then you, or whatever, both of you.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So I learned, I can pray with power. I have authority to do that. We are united in marriage, and Scripture says the two become one. And so, yes, I do have authority to pray over him and to pray that these evil things can be removed from our life. And before that, I was like, oh, no, I can't do that. Maybe a little overly respectful for him, of his being. But I learned, oh, no, I have power. I have authority as a wife, as one body, that I'm praying against the evil things that I saw. So learning to pray more effectively instead of just complaining, learning to pray with power, and to pray against the evil things that I saw. And so things started to change, over time. We have lots of people praying for us and really lifting us up. And then I think it was about 2018, wasn't it? About 2018 that things kind of started to change for us.
You had made a trip, though.
Yes.
That was 2018?
That was 2018. And was that before or after you? I can't remember.
It was before, because you came back with, this is, guess what he told us.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
go ahead
What
and talk
happened?
about the vacation.
Tell everybody.
So into that, I can't remember which is before or after. It kind of gets muddy, and this is where we need each other to remember. Okay, how long have we been married now? 17 years. Last Sunday, I had to remember that.
So she goes down to Belize.
Wait. Let me back up. This is the husband and wife. I'm going to correct and.
I know.
Yep.
Yeah.
We had a lot of things started to change. Scott had been on a number of different high levels of medications, and he was sick of them. And so, without telling me, he starts weaning himself off these. Oh, and we found.
Should you have told her? Now I want an answer. I feel like this is a talk show. Should you have told her?
I don't know.
It's okay.
I had spent, almost 20 years of my life on those medications, and nothing was going anywhere. Nothing was getting better.
It's a long time.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't
he was sick of them.
Yeah, and it's and it goes back to the trouble with treating mental health issues. Well, the medications, there are so many other things beside the medications, but the side effects of the medications are really nasty. Mm-hmm. They aren't good. Rachel would do art fairs. She's a potter. And I couldn't help because during the heat, if it was a hot day, my body just could not take being out in that heat.
Because of the medication. He just couldn't tolerate being outside.
And so Yeah, they aren't a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
And are they efficacious?
They kept him alive.
Yes.
They kept him alive for 20 years. And
They
for
kept his
that,
body
I am-
alive.
Right,
Yeah.
his
But-
body alive. He kept his body alive. But his spirit and his heart and, suffering. So Scott weaned
Comes
himself off these.
And it sucks.
Somewhere
It
in
was
there.
about a 4-month process.
Yeah.
And you're miserable. It is so miserable.
What did you find? Some food to eat that you loved, that you went to? I have no idea how do you do this.
You just sit and you suffer.
Oh.
It is.
Not
it's,
recommended.
Did you
This
get
is
chocolate,
not
though?
recommended.
I remember part
Chocolate?
of doing it.
Did you get chocolate in your
It
suffering?
goes back to the mental health issues. Is that you can't process pleasure.
Yeah.
Your brain just doesn't work that way. People think, oh, you'll find something wonderful to no. None of that exists. It is a miserable existence, and it sucks.
Scott would say even like food, it tastes like sawdust.
It's just,
Even if it's his favorite food, it still tastes like sawdust.
Yeah, but dude, you eat your food cold.
yeah, I know.
I mean, come on. I mean, we had these guys over and he put us in the freezer. I'm like, what are you doing? And I know somebody else who does that. He likes your food cold.
Yeah.
He doesn't do that so much anymore.
No, I don't. I think it goes back to the medications. It was
Oh,
part
no
of the-
kidding.
Yeah.
So
That's
you don't
weird.
like your food cold anymore.
I don't prefer it cold anymore.
Interesting.
But you won't eat it piping hot either.
No, it's not my
Even
favorite
your
way.
coffee.
So you're making your way back to
Yeah.
warm
Yeah.
food.
Well, yeah. Making my
your
way
way
back
back
to
to warm
enjoying what
food.
I'm eating. That's what it is.
Well said.
It's
Yeah.
being able to just enjoy it. It sounds so small. Like right now, before I go to bed at night, I get my little espresso machine that sits on the stove, and I line that up with water, coffee grounds, put it on, and I have a present for myself the next morning of coffee.
That's great.
Once I turn on the oven or the stovetop and it goes. For so many years of my life, the comprehension of doing something for myself the next morning wasn't even possible. Because it's like the disease affects how you think, your ability to process things, your ability to enjoy things. It all,
Yeah.
it's like throwing cold water on it.
Yep. And even some like your memories, some of the experiences, like now you'll look back and you'll say something like, oh, this and this and this. And I'm like, no, that's really not what happened. Like, but his perception of a situation was skewed so much that his memory is affected in that. So
And
anyhow,
it's not being able to see anything positive. It's always seeing the negative.
Yeah.
And that's all you can see. That's all your mind will process.
Yeah. Yep. And thank goodness we don't live like
don't
that
live
anymore.
like that anymore.
We tell each other that.
So then
Thank
what
goodness
happened?
we don't live like that
So
anymore.
you weaned yourself
he weans
off.
himself off. Somewhere in there, we found a health supplement that just really seemed
That's
to work
right. I forgot
for
about
him.
this.
And for me too, I started taking it, and that really, kind of took a long time, but that just that started to snowball.
Are you still taking it now? I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I do. And we really think that had a key part in us being able to get pregnant.
do you want to share with these guys what it is or not?
Sure, we can. It's
do you want to get into that?
we can, but we're not advertising a product here. We're talking.
Well, I
about
am.
miracles.
Let's go. What was it?
Go.
What'd you take?
It is a fantastic product. It's by a company named ASEA, ASEA,
Right.
and it's called Redox Molecules.
Okay.
And here's your 30-second explanation of what that is. Redox molecules, we already have them in our bodies naturally, in our mitochondria. And we all know, like maybe if we remember from biology class in high school or whatever, I don't remember it. Our mitochondria are like the powerhouse of our cell, right? It programs our cells to do their jobs correctly. And then in 1999, there was a Nobel Science Prize won for the discovery of these things that are called redox molecules. And they discover that the redox molecules are inside your mitochondria, and they program your mitochondria
Interesting.
to program your cells to do their jobs correctly. And so you think about any illness, any sickness, like cancer especially, like what's cancer? It's a malfunction of the cell, of the duplication of the cell, right?
Right.
And so these little things, we have them in our bodies naturally. As we age or have disease, our production of those go down. And so this company took that research, developed it into something that they could reproduce these redox molecules, and you can take them as a little drink supplement. And it was just so powerful that it, like a friend introduced it to us. She had some completely amazing miracles. I was like, whoa, that's
wow.
And then we started taking it, saw some really impressive. I enjoyed it. I thought, okay, this is good. And then Scott started taking it, and we're like, it took a while, but then all of a sudden he's exploding with energy and bouncing around the house. And I'm like, what in the world is going on?
Yeah, I don't remember the mitochondria thing.
Yeah,
I think I was sitting by Michelle Trammell in biology, and you don't remember anything. No. Sorry, Michelle, but I think it was that perfume. Anyway, so your body was now the physical part of your body was being healed.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's cool.
And that's one huge thing. Like our experience, we know that any sort of mental health is physical, spiritual, mental, emotional,
nutritional.
Right.
Nutritional.
Yeah. Like everything has to be working together. And for him, like he had started this part and he had started this part. Oh, like
and it's part
I was
of
praying,
the
other people
problem
were
treating
praying.
The disease is you can't handle all of those different things
at once.
I mean, you're sick. You can't do all of those things.
Yep. And so like this kind of made some progress, then this made some progress, and then this really sparked something. So anyhow, but we have a miracle story to tell you.
Yes.
Let's hear it.
Okay, you got to tell them about going to Belize.
In 2018, this is just a fantastic story. In 2018, I took a group of students from Brookings on a mission trip to Belize. And one of the people, our host there, was Pastor Gina. And she had this gift for prophetic prayer with people. I didn't even know what that was at the time, but she listened to the Lord really clearly and could articulate that. And so she prayed with me. And during this prayer, at some point, she said, "The Lord is telling me you're going to have a baby." And I was like, "What?" And my first thought, honestly, was, "Really, Lord? It's been 11 years of marriage." Oh, really? But then I caught myself immediately and I said, "Oh, no. With the Lord, anything is possible. And if we're going to have a baby, if the Lord is offering, if that's on the table, I want that." So I immediately turned that around to say yes. And, after the fact, I'm recognizing, that was what Elizabeth did, and Mary, and Sarah. That is just a beautiful way to reflect what I experienced. Oh, these other beautiful women in the Bible, this was their yes. And that our stories are connected in that way.
Wow, this is cool.
I didn't realize that until quite a long time later. So anyhow, Pastor Gina, she's saying, "You're going to have a baby." And I'm like, "What? This is crazy, but I want that. Yes." And then she continues and she says, "It's going to be a boy baby." And maybe this is just a female thing, a girl thing. But as soon as she says that, then I had these names go through my head. Oh, if I have a boy baby, I really love this name. I would love to name our son this, or maybe this. And literally in that split second, when these other names were crossing my mind, then the Lord shouted at me in my head. I've never heard something so clear in my entire life. The Lord shouted in my head, and he said, "Ezekiel." And then not only that, but I saw the name Ezekiel written in bright, huge, shining letters all the way across the room.
Wow.
And I was like,
"Whoa. That's pretty cool."
Whoa, what just happened?
What did he think? I mean, so you're in Belize. This happens to
Right.
you.
Comes
He's
home.
not
Right.
with you, is
no,
he?
he's
No.
not with me.
All right,
He's
so
not
what
with
did he-
me. And he was not really quite in a space where he could accept this. You know,
But
he
I
had not
remember
had
it
this
very
turnaround
distinctly
yet.
because, in retrospect, it was the beginning of hope.
Yes.
You know, if God's going to tell my wife this, well, we're not going to do it the way we've been doing this, and something's got to get better.
Or something will get
Will
better.
get better.
Yeah.
And that was in my journey back.
Yeah.
That was a part of it, where it was, if this is where God is going to be taking us, something's going to have to get better, and something's going to have to get different. And that's when I still remember Rachel coming home and giving this story. And one of the things with fighting mental illness is there's almost a fear of getting better
Fear of
because
something new, a
you
change.
have something new, and will it last?
Yeah.
Because part of mental illness, it goes up, it goes down, it goes
Yeah.
up, it goes down. And can be a lot of false hope in the process of it. But she comes home and says, and his name's going to be Ezekiel.
We got
And-
Elizabeth over here.
Yeah. And so I started on my journey of the rosary. And
Why the rosary? Why did you choose
because
the
it's
rosary?
what we had. It's really what I had. Going back to, what mental health issues, it's like being in a rut. Your brain can't get out of where it is. And the rosary pulled me out of it. It's retraining your brain, or getting yourself out of that rut, getting out of that infinite negativity, getting out of that dark space.
Yeah.
That's what it does. It pulls you out of it, or it can pull you out of it. And so I started doing the rosary, going to daily mass all the time, every day, doing First Friday masses. I was up to maybe 10 to 12 rosaries a day, just to get my brain out of itself. Your brain almost gets addicted to the negative. And it was just pulling myself out of that over and over and over again. And also, it was also during this time, I'm getting off all of the medications. It was incredibly hard. And then, and of course, we had this.
Right. Then we started the ASEA
ASEA.
supplement, and then it was February of
February
2019 or so.
19. And the year of that really, really bad winter. And it was just, I woke up in the morning and I asked, I still don't know where I got the words, but I just simply asked Mary, please heal my heart. And I got an answer. And I can't describe it any more than in my mind's eye, but it was a long white bandage and was wrapped around my heart. And just an unbelievable feeling of joy and peace. And just living in that moment. And I didn't hear anything. I just had this. That was about 9 o'clock in the morning. Just this incredible gift. And you're trying to climb out of all of this. Out of all of that darkness. And so that afternoon, Rachel had a meeting with her spiritual director, and we went there. And she was meeting with her in the other room, and I was waiting in the person's living room. And I asked for the same healing again. And this time, I got the same answer. Well, what initially happened is I asked for it, and I got nothing. for a moment. I'm like, okay, fine. And then she goes, oh no, you get it again. And so I had the same image, and I get the message from Mary. Did you think I couldn't? You know, it wasn't for me, it wasn't a voice. It was just, you know, the impression onto my consciousness of just, and again, that feeling of happiness and joy and comfort and of healing.
And didn't you see like another bandage wrapped around? Right?
Yeah. Again, the same thing with the bandage again. Yeah. And it took me a couple weeks to be able to talk about it. And, I know I didn't tell anybody about it for quite some time.
No. Scott didn't say anything. Again, he doesn't tell me he's weaning himself off these meds. He doesn't tell me that he has this miracle. But I'm like, I understand it in some ways, because even when I had this incredible experience in Belize of like the Lord telling me that we were going to have a son and this is his name, it was kind of nerve-wracking to go home and tell Scott about that. Oh, it took a lot of courage, because I didn't know how he was going to receive that.
And you want to make sure it's real.
Right. I didn't know if he was going to blow me off, get angry about it, and so, no, he didn't tell me about this. Like, I noticed difference. He is bouncing off the walls.
Yeah, it was absolutely crazy.
I had to like say, you have so much energy, you're vibrating, go outside and like go take a walk or something. Like, this is the guy that couldn't get out of bed.
You know what, I know, because I remember hanging out with you, particularly in that first retreat. I thought, oh my, he is in trouble. And you could barely put a sentence together.
Yeah.
And, I know depression a little bit. Not like you do, but, he's like an old friend that moves in with you, and you're like, what the hell are you doing here anyway? No, you want me. It's like that C.S. Lewis, I think it's The Great Divorce. Have you guys read that book? I read it years ago, and here's a great analogy of what you, and we all go through it. And I can't remember the details of the story, but there's this man, and he's got this bird on his shoulder. Again, I'm sorry, I can't remember the details, but I think this angel comes up and has this conversation and says, I see this bird, let's call that bird depression. Maybe it's anger for you. Maybe it's pornography for you. Maybe it's whatever. I see you have that bird on your shoulder. He's bothering you. Oh, no, he's okay. He just acts that way. No. Well, let me do so. Oh no, he's fine. Well, he's pecking at you and you're bleeding. It's okay. It's kind of a hurt so good. The angel says, let me just take this bird. He doesn't want to give the anger up, the depression, because we've made friends and we've lived in it so long.
It's comfortable.
It's weird, but it is comfortable, and you'd rather just sort of
live with it.
Live with it and slowly pass away. You're not going to really die, but you're just going to. Life is going to keep going on, and finally, he takes the bird, and I can't remember what he does with it, and it gets lifted off of this man. He's like, "Oh, it's the best day I've had in my life, man! Goodness!" And so many of us, we want to say, "No, he's okay. It's okay. I know he's bleeding, but it'll heal." We make excuses. We can't see. We need someone to come and help us.
Yes.
And Mary, the Mother of God, interceded for you. Jesus did it through her.
Right.
Yes.
So cool.
Yeah. So Scott is bouncing off the walls, and things just changed. Like, things started to kind of just snowball in beautiful ways. That spring, we hosted the Encounter School of Healing, the weekend healing at St. Thomas More, and we were just really blown away by that. Just what a fantastic experience. So then that summer,
if you want an example of how to live this.
Right.
How to live this. They come in and they go, this is the real thing. Right. This is the healing.
How do you pray for people for healing? And they were focusing specifically on physical healing in that workshop, but that's possible. That you can receive miracles. That you can have miracles. You can help out, learn to pray for other people for miracles.
It's not just in the Bible.
That's pretty fantastic.
Happening right now.
It's happening. Yeah. It's happening. Guess what? It happened this morning when I was praying with somebody. This morning. Yeah. More stories.
Yeah.
later.
This is cool.
Yeah, very cool. So we liked Encounter so much that we went to their summer program and just got a little bit more in depth experience there, and then a couple years later they opened up an online school. And so by this point, the Lord was pointing me, kind of shoving me into the world of healing ministry.
That's so cool.
And so that's my training, and that's what I get to do pretty often with people now, and just sit down and pray with them for healing, mostly inner healing, but there's a lot of physical healing that goes on there too. So it is fun, but I know that I would not be in that spot to do that, to bring hope and healing to somebody else, if we had not gone through
So you had to go through it. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
You have to go through it sometimes to believe.
Right.
And it took the Lord 10 years, or
Right.
Well, he can do it like this, but he
Right.
knows how.
Right.
I don't know
It's
how
the
to say
journey.
this the right
It's the
way.
journey.
Yeah, it's the journey.
Right.
It's the
It's
pilgrimage to healing.
Right. There were things that I really needed to learn, and a lot of trust. And in fact, this came up fairly recently in my prayer, and I was like, okay, Lord, I think I should ask you, what were you showing? What graces were you planting in me during that 10 years of terrible?
And it also strips a lot of the unnecessary stuff away.
It does.
We
It
have
does.
so much
Like what? What do you mean?
Stuff.
Tell me more about that.
stuff, things,
like
worry,
Activities, stuff, priorities that are not
our expectations, what we
Yeah.
think things should.
what we think other people should think of us.
You know,
What-
you just strip
you know.
that's what the years of mental illness did. You have to let all of that go.
Yeah.
You know, you have to let that fall away from your life,
Yeah.
and it's really getting down to what matters.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
if you can't get to that, you can't start building yourself back up.
Or just allowing a space for the Lord to be working in there.
Yeah.
It's a lot of stripping down.
But you guys went to work. I mean, starting with you started praying more. You started praying differently.
Right.
And I think
right.
that's really important to know that sometimes we don't know how to pray. We're not praying
don't.
right. And nobody really teaches us how to pray.
Oh, heavens
I've been a
no.
Catholic my whole life. And for the first 17 years, I don't remember, maybe somebody tried, but I don't remember someone teaching me about, well, this is what you do when you go and pray.
Right.
And now we're going to practice that.
Right.
No, we
Never.
just never did that.
Never.
Well, and the same thing with Encounter. This is what healing prayer is. Well,
How do you do that?
this is how you do it.
Step
Yeah.
one.
Do you get a result?
This.
Yes, you do.
Step two, you do this. So so clear, and just that really, really valuable experience. So, anyhow, I feel like we're getting on, because that can be like a whole nother discussion. I
could
feel
be
like
someday, but let's get back in.
that we could talk more
A
about
little much
healing prayer.
a little in the weeds, but that's all right.
Yeah.
It happens.
So we're experiencing great transformation. Scott is bouncing off the walls. He is getting a job for the first time and being able to function and help others. And it was amazing. In the fall of 2019, we got pregnant. And I was like, yes, Lord, this is it. This is it. This is the baby you promised us. And we were just so overjoyed. And then we ended up miscarrying. And I was like, Lord, this is not what you said. This is not what you promised. So that was just a really hard experience. And then I was just very, very grateful that the Lord was very present to me in my prayer at that time. I had made a prayer commitment with a friend that we did a certain prayer thing every day. And the scriptures of that were just so relevant in the way that the Lord had planned. You know, that those scriptures are exactly what I needed to hear during that week that we were miscarrying. But through prayer, we discovered that this was not a boy child. It was a girl child. And then through further prayer and talking with Scott, I was like, okay, well then what's the baby's name? I want to know the baby's name. I didn't want to name the baby. I wanted the Lord to tell me what the baby's name was. And so we talked about it a little bit, and Scott had a kind of a sense of that. The baby's name is Joy.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
How beautiful.
Joy. And she is still very present to us, and prays for us all the time. And we teach Ezekiel about his older sister in heaven that prays for him.
That's so cool.
And watches out for him. And so that was just a bumpy year in that respect, but still so much joy. I mean, I'd started my first year of the Encounter School. And so the team of people that was in our group was able to pray with us through this miscarriage and really be present. And then a year later, almost exactly, we got pregnant with Ezekiel.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. So then Ezekiel.
So when you saw the pregnancy test,
yeah.
We didn't take one.
Well, we don't take one. We do NFP, Glen. We don't need pregnancy tests.
We know. We just look at the chart.
You just look at the chart and you
we
know.
still did them anyway.
Just
because it's
fun
fun.
to know.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah.
I think I'm pregnant. Yeah, I think you probably are. So, so anyway, you knew.
Yeah, we knew.
We
knew.
missed. We're time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, it wasn't.
Yep.
Uh-oh.
It was.
Yeah.
I think we are. And we knew right away. We knew right away. And I also knew there was something different about this pregnancy. And as the baby develops, and we never asked, when we did our doctor visits, we never wanted to know, if it was a boy or a girl. We said, no, but we knew.
Yeah.
We knew that it was a boy. We knew it was Ezekiel. And so, and then, when I was pregnant, it was just such a beautiful experience to have this baby roll around and in my belly and have that intimate experience. I remember asking the Lord, tell me about my baby. When he was still in my belly, I said, tell me about my baby. And you know what the Lord said? He's happy. He's so happy.
That's so
I remember
cool.
her telling me this, and I'm like, most kids are happy. Like how happy can a kid be? Oh no, he's happy. Okay.
Ezekiel is a happy child. Happy child. And
he
after
is.
he is,
Yeah.
he
Oh,
is.
my goodness.
He brings joy to people. And after he was born, that was also part of our prayer that was revealed to us that's part of his mission in life is to bring joy to other people. And just joy and delight. He is a happy kid.
So you guys were healed first,
Yeah.
and then you had a baby.
Right. And the baby, like Ezekiel, continues to bring healing to us. It's not like we're perfect.
Right.
We still have some rough spots.
But the big blocks were moved and gone.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you'll
And
spend the
that's-
rest of your life with the little stuff, littler stuff.
Yeah, littler stuff.
Yeah.
Because for so many years, and it ended up affecting everyone, and both of my sisters. Is this fear of bringing kids into this world, and that has been totally just obliterated.
Yeah.
It's just to be so joyful and be so happy.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you know what? If it can happen to us, it can happen to anybody.
Yeah.
Like, there is no place that God cannot reach us. And I think about how terrible Scott was just in the dumps and, unable to function.
Yeah.
Negative thoughts all the time, that there was always this idea in the back of his head of suicide. Always. It never went away. And to take that spot and bring him to this,
It's just amazing.
And I can testify that these two are not the same people in 2013. You're not the same people.
oh no.
You have been so healed, and you're smiling, you're having fun, and you're talking about hard things
Right.
with joy. That
Right.
was not
Right.
you guys. You were it's really incredible for me in my position to watch you guys grow.
Yeah.
You know, and the little steps that you took, again, starting with prayer differently. You went and saw Father Gadeetz at one point.
That's right.
And that was a big deal. I mean, you spent how many hours with him?
3 hours.
And, you know, you saw a prophet, so did you.
Right.
I mean, he spoke to you prophetically, and I remember taking you there, and I remember taking you home, kind of. Do you remember that story? You were just like in
so
awe.
wiped out.
Yeah, I was exhausted.
Yeah.
It was 3 hours of him going through, you know, what had happened in my life. And I had never had anybody going, like, through everything like that. And he goes, okay, we're getting rid of all of this, you know. And it was the first time, it's also part of the problem with doing mental illness, is people, you have to have a system to do it. Well, you have no capacity to do it. Well, you start with the little things, or, you know, 3 hours of working over. This is what we're getting rid of.
Yeah.
This is why we're doing this. We're doing this so we can get rid of it.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right.
Because that can be an issue, too, of letting go of the past.
Yep. Yep. And like, again, Scott had a therapist, seen counselors, had done medication. Like, those all have their place. And I don't want to be negative about that, because they really have helpful things there. But the Lord can do things that no counselor can.
Amen.
Amen.
And a lot of times, like with Scott's experience, if I can put words around it, but Scott's experience for a lot of it was counseling is, let's talk therapy. It's rehashing all of these painful experiences. Well, if it's a traumatic experience in the first place, what do you think it's going to be like when he talks about it again? It was like all this guts spilled out, and then he has to live with all of this again. And then what the Lord does is actually remove it. And not just remove it, but heal it and replace it with beauty and truth and goodness.
Himself.
That's the difference. That's the difference. That's what I see all the time when I have the great honor of praying with people. Is like, okay, did you know, the person that I prayed with today, you could just physically see it. You know, this and this and this. These are the lies. This is the gunk, whatever. And renounce those. Oh, man, just this release.
Yeah.
And
it's
then
part of the inner healing
replace
ministry.
it with truth. Replace it with truth. So, like, we know, Scott and I know that part of our mission in life is to share this hope and joy, and to just be present with people, other people who are in similar suffering circumstances. Maybe not the same type of suffering, maybe something different, but this is what the Lord has made clear to us as part of our mission in life, to do that.
That's great.
And it's part of the, you know, just the miraculous things that, you know, the inner healing ministry can do.
Yeah.
You know, I've gone back and talked with Rachel as other people that she works with, and I've gone and talked with them too. And, you know, it's just like the bird. You get other birds that show up too.
Right.
And you've got to, you know, it's a continual thing of, you know, yes, I have a miraculous healing, but, you know, you aren't perfect afterward.
Right.
You still got to go through it all.
Yeah, there's still a few things.
And so it's part of, you know, just what inner healing can do, and going in when you run into something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it can remove the bird on your shoulder. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's this is just the way I am. Oh, this is, you know, we're Catholic. This is our understanding of suffering. I'm just going to offer it up. This is just the way it is.
Yeah.
Oh, no. The Lord wants more freedom for you and more joy.
Joy.
Yeah. Joy. Yeah.
Wow, this has been all about joy in many ways. You have a baby named Joy, but just watching, look at your faces. Yeah. Oh my goodness. It's really amazing for me to watch the transformation that has happened in this couple. And listen, ladies and gentlemen, if you're a couple and, you know, somebody has depression or whatever it is, and you don't think you can get out of it, you can.
You can.
There's somebody who can help you, and his name is Jesus. He is alive. He's real. He's with us now in this room, working through you too. God is just moving through this testimony with both of you. It's just been beautiful. So what can couples do if they're looking for healing? What do? They want answers. What would you tell them?
You have to be vulnerable. And you have to ask for help. And you got to mean it.
Yeah.
Part of my healing was it was so hard. It was so difficult. And you can limp along for a long time. But as bad as things were for us, we had to get better. And you don't have to live like that. You don't have to live, you can be totally functional and your life can be so much better.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't have to live like that. We don't live like that anymore. We're so grateful. I would say reach out to trusted people that pray, number one. Reach out to you, me, because we do have people that are equipped and skilled in praying with people for healing specifically. And we're building a network of people in our diocese that are skilled and able to do this. And we can work together. And if I'm not the right person to pray with somebody, then we'll, find somebody that is. But you don't have to suffer alone. To know that there are people to journey with you and can help the Lord, help you receive the Lord's healing in concrete and specific ways. So I'd say reach out, to trusted people. And then I can't say enough about asking for prayer for people who seriously pray, honestly, for a long time, people would ask me to pray, and I'm like, oh, okay, sure, I'll pray. But, did I actually pray for them? Other than, okay, I'll send you some positive thoughts. Oh, no, I actually
Keep smiling.
pray.
Yeah.
Right. So people who are serious prayers. And I do know that I'm held up. When things were terrible, I know we were held up by the prayers of our friends. That helped me learn how to listen to the Lord more clearly. But even now, when I have this great privilege of praying with people for healing, I never go in there by myself. We always pray as a team of at least 2 people. But then I have usually 3 and sometimes 4 or 5 people praying for us in the background.
Prayer backup.
Yeah, I have prayer backup. Yeah. Because that is where the change happens. That is where things start moving, is that prayer. So I can't say enough about prayer, about how powerful that is to have people praying for you. Because again, when you're in the middle of that, sometimes you really don't know. You actually do not know how to pray. You're kind of paralyzed and at a loss.
You're scrambling of where to go.
Right.
Where do I even begin?
Where do I even begin?
To head towards healing.
Yep.
Well, anything else?
Thanks for sharing with us. I kind of feel like maybe we should have a little what is it when they have a cameo appearance of Ezekiel. Maybe we can share a little something later.
Yeah, I can put his picture up. Do you want to go get him? Bring him down?
Sure.
Bring him down.
Sure.
Here.
Come
Yes,
on in.
hi.
Do you want to come climb up here?
Look at this little guy. Do you want to get in the microphone? Yeah. Do you want to tell us your name?
Can you get up here?
Hello.
Hi, how are you? What's your name? Do you want to say it in the microphone? Hello, what's your name?
Yeah. Can you say your name? What's your name?
Oh, you're being a goofy.
You're being so silly.
funny.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Will you have fun playing? Mm-hmm. Yeah. What's your favorite thing to play with?
He just
All
went,
these bright lights.
he just went squirrel. He's like, what's going on
Yeah.
here? Lights,
Yep.
cameras,
Yeah.
TV screen? What's
Yeah.
going on here?
Yeah.
It's so nice to have you here, buddy.
Yeah.
You say hi?
Hello.
What's your name?
Hello.
You are
I really
a
wanted
joyful
you
kid.
to tell him what your name is because it's really funny.
Hey, what's your name? Hey, buddy.
Tell them your
Can
name.
you say your name?
Can you say your name?
What's your name?
No.
What does your name start with?
Gotta go.
Gotta go.
Gotta go.
I'm gonna go find
Hey,
some more toys.
These guys are playing upstairs.
Yeah, it's so funny. He says his name is Zekel.
Oh, cute.
Yeah, he can't say all the, but he knows his name. His name starts with E,
And he has a
and
Z
then
in it.
Z.
Oh,
and
that's
so he's learning.
Well, let's wrap up the podcast.
Yeah.
Thank you to Rachel and Scott for sharing your story. It was really amazing. And, Father Gadiz would say you brought in an actual grace with Ezekiel and how that prophecy was fulfilled. Your healing. It's a great, great story. Thank you so much for sharing, ladies and gentlemen. Share this podcast. People need hope and joy. And these two just delivered a huge shipload of that for us. Remember, you are loved, and may God strengthen the bars of your gates. Hey, thanks for listening to the Glen Gower Podcast, sponsored by Mission Blueprint. Mission Blueprint is a nonprofit ministry started by Glen and Jamie to sanctify the family. Our income is donation-based, and we need your help. Please support us financially by going to www.mission-blueprint.org and be a part of our financial team. Thank you, and may God strengthen the bars of your gate.